Well, hello. Good afternoon. Don't you just love this event? It's awesome. I am Holly Reardon, like she said, owner of Hapacity Marketing. I'm so thrilled to be here today to talk about how to craft an effective positioning statement for your brand. We're going to go through the steps and also the importance of it. I have some sheets here, and actually, if I could get your help to pass them out. Oh, and pens. Need some pens too. Can you hear me?
I'm getting it through the vent, so we're good.
Okay, well that's what matters, right? Okay, great. Okay. So first, I want to take a little detour down memory lane. When I first launched my business 2 years ago, my website was like a net casted far and wide, targeting everybody and anybody. All business is good business, and I wanted to be the agency for all, so I thought. And I was desperate not to turn anybody off. But what happened was quite the opposite. Even as a marketer, I blended in. I was reliant on referrals mostly of people who already knew about me. And unfortunately, I pigeonholed myself as the budget-friendly choice. It felt like a rut I could not escape until one day I sat back and reflected, what do I want my dream business to look like? And that clarity is what led me to this journey I'll share with you today. I've learned over time that a brand is much more than a logo or a catchy tagline. It's the soul of your business, the promise to your customers, and the very essence of what you stand for. So, what is a positioning statement? Well, simply put, it clearly states who you serve and what you can accomplish for them. It communicates the unique benefit and value that you bring to your target audience. It's also your differentiator among competitors. It doesn't have to be glamorous, it has to be clear. That's most important. When thinking about your brand, I want you to imagine it as a ship, and your positioning statement is its compass. So, you might be thinking, why do I need a brand compass? And it's not just because it looks freaking cool. It's also because, number one, it provides direction. You have big freaking goals, as you should. Having a clear positioning statement takes you where you want to go. It guides all of your marketing and your branding efforts. Number two, it provides focus. It narrows down and prioritizes your target audience. It also offers differentiation. Out of all the similar brands out there, you want your brand to be the obvious choice for your target market, not just one of the many options. It also provides confidence. When you're so clear about who your products and services are for, it's easy to just be confident in that. You wouldn't go to a doctor who wasn't confident in their abilities. Can you imagine? Going into surgery, that would not be good. Without clear positioning, you become like a diamond in the sand. Even if you have an excellent product or service, you become invisible. But if you get it right, like Apple did with its simplicity, or Tesla with its innovation, you carve out a place in the market that's uniquely yours. And now for the flip side. When you don't have clear positioning, you can risk lost identity. Most of your marketing efforts in your audience, they're not going to be in the place of buying when they see your marketing. But the whole point of marketing is that when they do see your marketing, or when they do need your product or service, you're the first one that they think of. And if it's not a hell yes for your target audience, it's a hell no. Number two, wasted resources. You'll spend all this money and time on marketing trying to communicate what makes your brand special, and no one will get it. Number 3, reduced trust. Consistency breeds trust. And when your messaging is all over the place and inconsistent, people start to not trust you that you can do what you say you're going to do. And number 4, lack of confidence. Just like I mentioned how the doctor, you wouldn't want to have a doctor who doesn't really know what they're doing, they're not confident in it. Your audience will also feel that. The key is to always recognize what lane you're in and to stay in it so you don't risk diluting your brand. This scenario reminds me a lot of this little shop in my hometown of Maine, small town of 6,000 people. They sold tattoos, ice cream, night crawlers, and wedding dresses. Confused, maybe even grossed out, so were their customers. And maybe yours are too. So let's talk about a good example here. Raise your hand if you're team Dunkin' Donuts. Raise your hand if you're team Starbucks. So I'm a New Englander, so I probably should say Dunkin'. My parents and entire family would probably disown me. However, I choose Starbucks anyway. And why is that? Because of positioning. Starbucks and Dunkin' offer basically the same products on their menu, yet their target audience and the way they market to them is quite different. With Starbucks, they market being the third place, not work, not home, somewhere in between. They sell premium pricing for a premium experience, and I'm a hoe for experience. And they focus on specialty drinks and sustainability, whereas Dunkin', their appeal is more about being fast and affordable. You're in, you're out, you're caffeinated. They focus on being streamlined and efficient, and their seating is totally uncomfy. It's not like you want to sit there and work for a while. But the moral of the story here is they're both huge brands with rich history, but they live in different worlds. Something to keep in mind, that you always need to be really clear on who your target audience is and stay true to your brand's core. So before we jump in, I want to set the stage. This might seem a little woo-woo at first, this exercise that I'm going to take you on, but it's so important. I'm going to take you on a little exercise to craft your brand sanctuary. It's a little visualization exercise. And what does that mean? It's about understanding who you are both professionally and personally. And I want you to get down beyond what you think you should be doing and more about your truest desires. Brand from the heart, not just the blueprint. So I want you to take a deep breath in with me and then out. And I'm going to have you close your eyes. So imagine you're in your dream workspace. This place is a representation of your authentic self, your passions, and your ambitions. Visualize in your head, look around, who's in the room with you? Are they mentors, team members, or perhaps mentees? Or are you by yourself? Listen closely. What do you hear? Is it the hustle and bustle of a busy city? The chirping of birds? The sounds of waves crashing? Or perhaps the tapping of a keyboard? Reach out. What can you touch? Is it the smooth surface of a modern desk? The soft grain of a wooden table? Or maybe the blades of grass beneath your fingertips? Take a deep breath in. What do you smell? Is it the trees of nature, freshly brewed coffee, or perhaps the musty pages of old books? Now think about what you're actively working on in this space. Is it a passion project, a collaboration, or something that challenges you? Hold on to that image. Absorb the feeling it evokes. Now finally open your eyes. This sanctuary that you've just visualized is a reflection of your ideal self, your dreams, and your brand's essence. As we proceed, I want you to remember this vision. Let it guide your branding decisions. So, this is the first part of our actual workshop. So before we delve into target audience, let's focus on something that often gets overlooked in branding, but is so crucial. Your values. Most brands, big brands even, don't really know what they stand for. Your brand values are all about why you do, not just what you sell, but also how you do it as well. I remember a pivotal moment in my journey. A mentor of mine said to me, "Holly, it seems like you're wearing a suit coat that's 3 sizes too big." AKA, I was shrinking my brand, not fully embracing the potential and dreams that I had for it. And she was right. I was scared, afraid of failure, imposter syndrome, we all have it. But the truth is, it's our values and our passions that determine the size of our coat. They defined our true magnitude. And when we align our brand with those values, we don't just fit the coat, we freaking own it. Today, I want to help you find that perfect fit based on what really matters to you. So, the first part of our exercise here, I want you to ask yourself, what are the core values driving my brand? How do these values show up personally and professionally at the moment? What do I want to be remembered for beyond just a product or service? What would my business look like if I honored these values regularly, not just sometimes? Your brand values can be a magnet attracting the right customers who resonate with your beliefs. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes on the clock. Please, this is a freaking networking event, so talk with your neighbor. Feel free to chat back and forth, and I'll give you 5 minutes to take some notes. All right, you guys ready to move on? Okay. Sorry, my voice doesn't carry like it should. Okay, so who feels good enough to share what they wrote down for values? If you don't raise your hand, I'm gonna pick somebody. Oh, Holly? Go ahead, yeah. Yeah, what's your values?
My values, so this is an educational coaching business for homeschoolers and for online learners. And so my values are mentorship and kindness, but also thoughtful sort of rigor in education and curiosity.
Ooh, I love that. That is just fire. I love that. We can, one more. I know she raised her hand. Okay. Oh, she's going to stand up. No, I love it. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alice. My company is Style Your Flow 369. My core values for my company, I didn't write them down. I just knew them off the top of my head. And I was like, oh, I better write it down. But it's authenticity, transparency, and groundedness. And I'm sure there's going to be more as we come in. But I think as we are transitioning, it's so important to just be, value-driven and just be as authentic and true as you are, because we're imperfect. But, we're in a society, we're trying to be perfect, but we just have to go with the flow and be okay with the imperfection.
I love that. See, those were 2 really great examples. Thank you both for sharing. Okay, so moving into the next piece. So we talked about values. Now let's talk about identifying who your target audience is. Remember, when you're speaking too broadly to all, you end up resonating with very few. So I want to challenge you. Think, how can I reach fewer people instead of thinking, how can I reach as many people as possible? If there's one thing that I've learned in my journey is that patterns of past clientele and customers reveal so many insights that you can pull from. These patterns aren't just about what clients or customers convert the most, but they're more about the nuances of working relationships and mutual respect. Think about it, the clients who you truly cherish, the ones that the work is actually really fulfilling for you, do you ever notice that you often share the same values? It's like the synchronicity and ease in communication and understanding. That is not coincidental. It's a clear alignment on values and goals. The clearer you are on who your dream client or customer is, the better your messaging is going to be. And the more likely that your audience is going to resonate with it. And remember, just because you're identifying a certain type of target audience doesn't mean that you won't attract others that kind of fall outside of those, like that description. It could be aspirational for them, or they just like what you're doing and they want to be a part of it. So this is the next part of our exercise. I want you to get really down into who your target customer or client is. And I'm going to give you 5 more minutes on that. Cool. Who wants to share their dream client or customer that they serve? Anyone? Let's see. If you don't raise your hand, I'll just pick on someone. I'm going to pick on, I'll pick you. Yep, we're going to do you.
So we defined our target audience as millennials and Gen Z.
Millennial and Gen Z. Okay. What does that look like for you? Like, what is your business, I guess I should ask?
Okay, so we have a podcast that addresses how to connect like across generations when you're on a journey of self-healing and like self-help.
Okay, self-healing, a podcast. Interesting. So what is the value for those millennials? Why would they need your podcast, or what is it about it that would kind of bring them in?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's kind of why we're here to start with.
Yep, okay, cool. Anyone else? Who else knows their dream client or customer? Let's see. Okay.
Hi, my name's Laura. I'm starting a pet care business,
Okay.
and I really appreciate clients who are good planners, who
Mm-hmm.
know their trip dates in advance and reach out to me, even if it's just like to test it. And I am not going to be there for the people who need a last-minute house sit this weekend.
Yep. I get that. Yeah, it relates to like kind of how I've defined mine. Those ambitious type business leaders is really my target. The people who are high performer, they've got their shit together. Yeah, I'm with you. Cool. Okay, let's move on to the next piece. Oh. Okay. So before we dive in to the nitty-gritty of crafting your positioning statement, we have to figure out what really sets you apart. And beyond offering, it's your unique approach and expertise that can really set you apart. This can be hard for a lot of people to figure out what their differentiator is, especially when there's a lot of people out there. You'll see all these big brands say, I sell athletic shoes or sweatpants or whatever, and I'm looking at Nike's marketing. I'm like, okay, that's probably how I should do that, right? That's my differentiator. No. Nike can post anything, and they'll get a ton of engagement and a ton of love because they've built that loyalty. It's better to look back at the before, not the after. So when thinking about what kind of sets you apart from other businesses out there, what is it? And these questions should really help you dissect your unique offering. So they are, what services or products do you offer currently? Beyond the surface, what distinct elements set you apart? Do you possess any unique insights or wisdom about your industry or about the person you're trying to help that might give you an edge compared to others? Are there specific educational qualifications, skills, or certifications you could talk about that differentiate you? Do you have systems, processes, or methods that make you unique? Those are all the ways that you can get down to what makes you different. So again, I'm going to put time on the clock. We'll do 3 minutes this time, or we'll do 5, because this is a tough one. We'll do 5 minutes, talk with your partner, and get down to what makes you unique. Okay, and like I have been doing this whole time, I want to hear from somebody or a couple people. What makes you different? How about you? You. Mm-hmm. Yep, I am. Mm-hmm. What makes you different? Or are you going to do Thrive Co. or are you doing something different?
I could do Thrive Co. because, like, I do home baking too.
Oh.
The unique approach is where I struggle. I'm like, I just really like trying new recipes all the time.
Yeah.
What's your signature bake? I'm like, everything.
Is that the one you've been workshopping, the baking?
Yes.
Let's hear from that then. What makes you unique?
I just really like unique blends of flavors and mostly recipes that reflect someone's background and like memories and heritage. Like, I think the thing I bake the most would be banana bread because I grew up baking it with my grandmother, and I developed my own recipe from that. And so I like to kind of personalize the bake. I'm like, tell me about like what you want.
Yeah.
So like I did my best friend's wedding cake, and we did a lot of cream cheese frosting.
I'm hungry.
After trialing many recipes, so I think maybe doing a more personalized approach to baking versus like the cookie cutter what you get at the grocery store.
Okay, I like that. That was a great answer. Okay, I want to hear from somebody else who hasn't spoke yet. Let's see, who can we target like a shark? Do you want to go? I love your hair. I'm like starstruck by it. I would think so.
Well, until you're known, you are your brand, right? So people say, go talk to the lady with purple hair, she knows stuff.
I believe it.
So, yeah, coming from New York media, I probably have better connections and resources than you're likely to expect. And I'm a consultant, not a coach. So I will help you with that one problem today. I will help you fill in whatever gaps you have, rather than selling you an employer program. So everything is customized.
I love that. That's a lot more actionable, which I like. That was great. Okay. So let's move on. Let's talk about some things that I love and everybody else hates. I know what you might be thinking when we look at niching here. You think, if I niche, I'll end up attracting nobody and turning away too much business. That's how I thought. But remember this, niching isn't about confining yourself, it's about defining yourself. And I know, I was proud of that. That's pretty damn good. How you niche can shape your brand identity and its appeal. Yes, some people will self-select out of working with you, but for the ones who see your messaging out there, they will deeply resonate with it. And that's okay. Like, you want that. And also keep this in mind, never niche on pricing unless you're ready to live and die with that. As soon as you start offering promos and discounts, that's what you're known for, being the budget-friendly choice, like I was. And the same thing really goes with luxury pricing as well. If you just keep making updates to your pricing, it can really hinder your brand's growth. Definitely can do that. You know, when you look at Target and Walmart, Walmart is obviously the more affordable choice, and that's what they've chose, and they are living and dying by that. So consider niching by industry, client or customer, personality, company size, or offering. Those are the way better ways to go about it. And aim for clients or customers who prioritize value over price. So now the reason we're all here. So we're going to bring it all together. We're going to build a positioning statement. It might sound really challenging at first, especially for the people in here that aren't necessarily writers. But it can really be distilled down to this 3-script formula. And remember, your words really do matter. You want to be really specific with what you choose. But at the same time, your first draft is going to be shitty. That's just how it is. And that's okay, because it's not written in blood, and thank God, because I'd pass out, and you can change it. And you will many times over. So there are 3 scripts to guide you, and I'm going to give you some time, 5 more minutes of time to go through this. But we're going to start off, make sure you start from the top to the bottom, with your short and sweet script. I help, target, market, insert biggest outcome. And then you're going to move on to expand upon it, which is I help, target, market, who struggle with main struggles by how you solve this so that they can, again, outcomes. And then the full script, once you've done all that, it'll be I help, target, market, biggest challenge by how I solve this result they get allows them to outcome, and this is why it's important. Because again, you want to really get down to what is the outcome you're giving them and why is that actually important? Why do they need it? Okay, you ready? 5 more minutes on the clock. Feel free to talk to your neighbor, and we'll talk in a bit. Okay. Does anyone have an amazing positioning statement they want to share? Because I'll call on you if not. Who wants to go? Do you want to go or no?
I'm not shy, so I'll go, but it's not amazing.
It's okay. It's not written in blood. It's all good.
So which one am I going with?
Let's read your full script. Yep.
Okay, I help rehabilitation hospitals reduce lawsuits by developing an AI-controlled device that makes patients more independent, healthcare workers prioritize other tasks, and everyone safer.
Love it. Yep. Fire. Let's do another one. Who can beat that? Anyone? Let's go. We haven't heard much from in this middle section here. Who wants to go? Do you want to go? Right here with the pink shirt and everything. Very Barbie. Love it. Or Ken. Sorry, Ken.
I was thinking this morning. So I wrote it in pieces. So I help creatives. So the name of my company is Red Coffee. I sell coffee.
Okay.
Basically, we sell coffee to help people get into philanthropy and learn how to give back to others in a simple way. This is something that you do every day.
Okay.
So I help creatives. Trying to read my handwriting. I help creatives. The biggest challenge is being able to afford to give back to other creatives, to build communities, to contribute to each other. So voices of up-and-coming creatives have access to resources and supportive communities.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that was good too. Okay, let's see if we have time. Well, I don't think we have time for one more right now. Okay. Does everyone feel good about that exercise? You're going to redo it 3 times, maybe more. It's okay? All right. So let's recap all the awesome things that we covered here. The moral of the story, branding isn't just about standing out, it's about standing for something. Like I said, a lot of businesses out there don't stand for something, and we can all feel it. So we talked about the importance of positioning, and about who you serve and what you can accomplish for them. We constructed your brand sanctuary. We also talked about values in branding, and it's the why and how of what we do. We also established our target audience, and that shared values and clients and customers really matter. We talked about your differentiator in the market. And we also talked about niching and how to be cautious on niching by price, because you don't want to compromise on value. And then the last step was crafting our positioning statements. So that is it. And I want to just thank you all for showing up, and I hope that you all reimagine your brand and its positioning in the marketplace from now on. So let's jump into some questions. Anyone have any questions for me?
What's the difference between a mission statement and a brand statement?
The difference between a mission statement and
What's the difference between a mission statement and a brand statement? Thank you.
that is a good question. There's close ties there. I think you can kind of think about them as one if you want to. The positioning statement is something more like you put internally, like you keep for yourself. The mission statement is something more that you put externally, like you put in your about page on your site. But they are kind of one and the same. The positioning statement, like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be glamorous. It's more about just being clear about who you serve and what you can do for them. The mission statement is more about the mission. What can you do? Oftentimes you don't see, we serve these types of people in a mission statement, but you can. Anyone else have any questions? Oh,
If you're a 2 or 3 sided marketplace, are you doing 2 or 3 of these for each of these things?
that's a really good question. I would say you probably want to have one overarching one that can be a little bit more general. But if you have several, I think you can have one for each, like truly. I think there's no limit. As long as there's like a close tie, like I mentioned, values, that's the most important piece, and kind of who you serve. Yeah, I would say it's not a bad idea to have several and one overarching one. Anyone else have any questions? There.
Hi. Do you have any recommendations for ways that somebody can find more differentiators? Like if you feel like maybe you're like a small fish in a big pond kind of thing, like what are some ways that you could make yourself stand out a little bit more if you didn't find a whole lot of differentiators?
That's a great question. I think there's probably the best way to do it is to go and create that for yourself. If you feel like you're lacking on education or network, or your product or service could be better, those are all things that you could work on to kind of create that differentiator for yourself. But again, I think it goes back to those values. Like your values can be your differentiator in itself. Like when you see a ton of different brands out there who seem shaky on their values or it's like inconsistent, that can be the simple differentiator between someone picking one company versus another. Microphone.
How did you distill down and find your niche? How did you go about it? Did you have a process or just discover that on your own? Like this whole thing involved?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think discovering your niche, it's a really tough one. I hate to go back to it again, but the values can be that. But also thinking back to the types of clients that you like working with. Like for me, when I think back to like my niche, I do a lot of areas in marketing. So that isn't necessarily what makes me different. It's really more about the types of clients I work with. So when you're thinking about it for you, you can go that direction. You can also go, actually yours, remind me, you're in healthcare in some ways.
I'm developing a device and it came down to who wrote the check.
Who wrote the check?
Right, that's who it's a whole thing. But I was just like, the riches are in the niches. I've heard that before, so I just wanted to find how do you discover who?
Well, if, making the like getting the bag is part of your values, I mean, that's okay too. If you're money motivated, yeah. I think it goes back to like, is it the client personality? Is it the company size? Is it the industry? It could be price if you want it to be. Those are all the ways, but yeah. It's more of a personal question, That's kind of what matters to you. Any other questions? He's going to give you a microphone so you can project.
Good morning or afternoon. I was going to ask, do you have any resources or websites you would recommend or market research, or organizations?
Yeah, so that's a good question because when you're figuring out your target audience, you oftentimes have this idea in your head of what it should look like. One great way to do that is talk to someone who has the same target audience as you in your head, but they're not a direct competitor. So yours is a podcast, right? So you could talk to someone else who's targeting millennials and see kind of what messages resonate with them. And one thing too is important to know is they may need your product or service or your podcast, but they may not value it. They might not actually show up and listen. So a good thing about asking your non-direct competitor or indirect competitors is to figure out if they really do value the topic that you're covering. Tools that you can use, I've used a tool called Meltwater, like melt water. They've got a bunch of different like audience insights that you can pull and see what is your audience interested in, what types of influencers are they following, what messages resonate with them. That's a really good tool. Meltwater, MELTWATER. WATER. I don't know how to spell. Any other questions?
I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder. My name is Regina, I work for the St. Louis County Library. We have databases that have millions and millions of customer information and business information. We would love to show you how to use to grow your business, to find your customers, to find your competitors.
That's awesome. Yeah. Any other questions?
And free.
We love free.
My question is to her, how do we get access to that? Do we just come down here and ask for you, or do we, what's the process?
The question is, how do we get access?
We need like 3 of Ben's, like microphone.
I have a business card too. You contact us and we can set up an appointment with you individually or in a group, and we can walk you through these databases to show you how to use them. So,
Amazing.
minimally, would you like me to tell you what my email address is?
Yes, sure.
I'm writing it down too.
Again, my name is Regina. I am at R. Crandall, that's RCRANDALL at slcl.org. St. Louis County Library.
Got it. Any other questions? Any questions for Regina? I think we're good. Thank you all so much for showing up today. I'm excited.
Thank you everybody.